Good morning, Rabbi Isai. It's geschmack to do the daf.
It's geschmack to do the daf is what we say.
Louder, louder.
Whether on Zoom or at the pool or on Safari.
Louder, louder.
On a plane, at a game in your Ferrari.
Even louder.
With the challenge of the journey all around us. We choose to be a better version of ourselves.
Look at that guy.
And the wise of Emily. The mitzvah, the terror. The mitzvah, the terror. The global cause of terror.
All right. Le'ilu nishma asimi mirasi rusmas Mordechai. The speakers are in, Rabbi. The speakers are in. They're working. Parnas HaChodesh, Shmuli Hecht, in honor of David Zlatnik, F200, Akiva Solkowitz, F94, Shalom Rand, F202, Shmuli Davidowitz, B202, and the official Eben Daf Yomi Committee by Vlad Zakharov, Refuah Shleima from my grandmother, Nechama Bas Haika, by Nachum Horowitz, in honor of the Bris Thursday, my grandchild, Mazel Tov, Gabriel Boruch Ben Yisrael Moshe. He's a Baltimore representative. Also, Zechan Ishmas Chaim Shalom Ben Baruch Leib, Gabriel's great-great-grandfather's yahrzeit was also the day of his bris. Gabriel's great-grandfather, Elazar Ben Chaim Shalom, was Sandik. I am going to spare you all today, all the new names and all the donors. I will say that Yoeli Doppelt, the guy with the Blitz, he donated 40 Gemaras. There's still only about $10,000 left. Whoever wants to be Zoich in the big mitzvah. Yesterday, Simcha Gargir comes to my house and he hands this to me. So all the kids, there's many kids that come every day to the daf live. So come here, Rabbi, say, come. Kids, come to the front. This says like this, Gavi Lin, Yona Simcha Gargir, and the kids of MDY. No, come, get over here. I want to show the Olam what goes on here every single morning. Every morning. Look at this. Kid, come. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom. Cooperstein, get over here. Get Koopy over here. It's a shy kid. All right. Let's see what he got. Let's see what they got me. I didn't look at it yet. Wow. Look at this. They're giving me gifts. I should give them. What's your name? Say it. Start with you. What's your name? Zalman Tzvi. You? Laser. You? Akiva. You? David. Yudit Tzvi? Who? Yoel Moshe. This is okay. Mordechai. Where's your dad? He's back? This is Kamyansky. And Gav, you're involved in this? It says your name on the box. Just a little bit. Wait a minute. Where's Gargir? He wasn't feeling. He gives this to me and he doesn't. Rabbi, I see what's going on here every morning. So your kids could also do the daf. Beautiful. Akiva Solway, we saw him yesterday. Akiva Solway is literally here every day. He writes for the Oram Merkaz. All right, you guys want to stick around there? Yeah, stick around for the emails. Look at this. No, come, stay around. It's good. Attached is a picture of very proud and very excited Reb David Levy. Reb David Levy is a big masmid. He gets up a sikin and he learns all day and he does the daf with us. But listen to this. He's holding in his hand his two first grandchildren, both born within a few days of each other, to his daughters that are twins. And his wife is very interesting. Where's Yoey? What's Yoey's last name? Steiner. That's right. Where's Steiner? Where is he? He's coming. Oh, here he is. Get over. You know this person? Your father and mother are both pediatric oncologists, right? World renowned. So here's another one. His wife is a world renowned pediatric oncologist. Your father is in Memorial, the head of Memorial. So I don't know where she's from, somewhere else in New York. She gives a lot of herself as skanas, So here's the picture. David Levy with they're not twins, born days apart, two is twins, first grandchildren, unbelievable. Mazel tov, mazel tov. He's here in Eretz Yisrael, so hopefully we'll see him soon. Maybe we'll come to, let's see, what time is it? I don't know what time it is, we keep on going. Rabbi Isai, sign up 7:21. What time is it? 7:22, he says. There's many siyum going on. There's in London, there's in New York, in Flatbush, in Teaneck, and everywhere. Where else? South Africa even. Here's one I have here. London is not part of the, I don't know why, but they're doing it in Or Chodesh at 8 p.m. There's a meaty buffet on Sunday evening, in Miti. And what else? Sign up. Over here, we, Baruch Hashem, in RBS, 83 people signed up as of last night. 83. Baruch Hashem, I could say. It's in my house. Baruch Hashem, my wife is in America. Okay, let's start learning. We have all these. We're not going to do them today. We'll do it a different time. Let's try to catch up a little bit. Shkoyach, guys. Thanks for coming every morning. Gives everybody in the Shir Chizuk that they're here. Everybody. Today is Daf Lamed Ches. And we are holding, believe it or not, on Lam Zayin on the base, right where we need to be. 12 lines from the top. Tanur 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Easy stuff. Tanur Rabbanan. Shnayim sheshalu choluk echad b'shutfus. So, you have two individuals who borrowed a suit together as a partnership. Zeh leilech boy shachris lebeis hamedrash, v'zeh likones boy arves lebeis hamishta. One is going to learn Torah, the other one is going to party. But you see from here the idea of chatzi lochem v'chatzi loshem. You could go, except the two different people, but it's b'shutfus. It's the Yisachar Zvulun. I get to party, you learn from me all day.
I get to learn, you go party.
That's right. You go party for me. There was a very, very simple yid that was giving out brachas. That reminds me, there was a guy here in Israel, the Chalban. I don't know if he's still around. Is he still around? He passed away. People used to run to him, brachas, everything he said. So there's a guy similar to that. He had a simple job. He wasn't a big tzaddik or anything. Everything, every bracha he gave was mekuyim. Remind me who the story is about. Some Rebbe. So I remember hearing this a long time ago. Yeah. I'm not a single person. So he goes, so this Rav wanted to see what's going on here. Why is this guy his brachas, every bracha he gives? So he checked him and he went over to him. He said, what's going on? He said that he wasn't doing well with Parnasa. And he spoke to Hashem and he said, Hashem, I want to be your partner. I'll give whatever I make. If I'm your partner, I'll give half to you and half I'll keep for myself. I'll give half to Tzedakah. And he kept his deal. Shbaruch Hu also gave him Parnasa. And the Rav said, because he's a real shutaf, because sometimes when you speak directly to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, now what it says in the Siddur, your own tefillah, like Chana, it has a much bigger power. And because he was a shutaf, so he had also the ability and the shutfas to say things that were mekuyim. Chatzi lochem v'chatzi loshem. But anyway, zeh erev olav l'tzafayin, v'zeh erev olav l'darim. This individual made an erev going that way, and this individual made an erev going that way, and there's a suit in the middle. So it depends. In this particular case, you could see that they weren't using the erev to the fullest. They only distanced themselves, each one from the center, only 1,000 amma. Where in fact, they have 2,000 amma in each direction. From this challah going this way, it overlaps to over here. From this challah, with the erev is 2,000 amma ends up at this line. In other words, there's 2,000 ammas that the suit could travel between them. There's 2,000 ammas in the center that they share. And therefore, he could only go as far as his friend's Eruv. So he could go up to this line. This individual could go up to this line, which is the end of this guy's Eruv. And this guy could only go up until this line. He can't continue this way because his friend's Eruv stops here. So they could only move the suit within these brackets. But what if they utilized the tchum completely and they went 2,000 amma, same exact picture, but the number changes? They took the tchum, the chala is 2,000 amma from the suit, from the center. In other words, this individual can't move 1 iota past this front door to this direction, and this individual can't go past this door because this 2,000 amma is right over here, this center line. So this suit is stuck right in the middle. The suit can't move 1 inch. Itmar. Now, we're not talking about a suit. We're talking about a barrel of wine or an animal. A live animal, not a mando, an animal we're going to eat. And they bought it in a partnership. Rav Omar Choves Muteres Ubehema Asura. Rav says, how much of this barrel is owned by the guy on the right and how much is owned by the guy on the left? 50-50. So Rav says that the guy on the right could take 50% of the wine and bring it within his tchum from this house all the way 2,000 amma. This guy cannot move 1 inch past his door. He could bring his wine 2,000 ammas this way. Now, if over here it said 1,000, there were only so then he would be able to move the wine up until the 2,000 point this way, and he would be able to move it this way. The point is that the wine can be divided between the two partners, and they both take the wine to wherever they want to take the wine, within their tchum. Rav Omar Choves Muteres Ubehema Asura. However, when it comes to the animal, this goat can't move it. I cannot bring it within my tchum, and he can't bring it within his tchum. It's stuck right over here. What is the difference between a goat and wine? That's what the Gemara is going to explain. There's no questions today. Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam, she'akol niyeh b'dvaroi.
Is the reason why the wine is allowed because of Yeshua?
Let's see in the Gemara. Let's see. Rav Amar Choves Muteres Ubehema Asura. Shmuel Amar Choves Nami Asura. So Shmuel is of the opinion that ain't Breira. Breira, the famous concept in Shas, retroactive clarification. I didn't get it from the art scroll. I came up with this on my own. No. Retroactive clarification. It's beautiful. You can't say it any better. Basically, all the wine is mixed in the barrel, and by you taking out a cup of wine, you're showing that that's exactly the cup of wine that was meant to be yours from day one, and therefore you're allowed to move it this way, and the cup that he removes from the barrel, this guy can move that way, because retroactively, it's decided what wine goes to who. Retroactive clarification. But Shmuel doesn't hold a breira. So we have to remember this. Shmuel does not hold a breira. And therefore, nobody's moving anything. Not the wine and not the animal. It doesn't move to the right. It doesn't move to the left. Because, as you see over here, this individual could only carry things up until the front door. That's where his 2,000 ammas end. Mimela, this wine cannot go to the left, because what if it's this individual's? We said yesterday that the kalim, the animals, go by the owner. So if this wine is owned by the guy on the right, so it can't pass the door to the left. And if it's owned by the guy on the left, it can't pass the door to the right. So therefore, if there's no retroactive clarification, it's not going anywhere, and Shmuel holds there's no retroactive clarification. Ask the Gemara, Microsoft Rav. Let's understand Rav. Why is there a difference between a barrel of wine and a goat where by the goat he says you cannot move it and the wine you could move it? Very simple question. If he holds yesh breira, you could clarify who owned what. So then a goat also you should be able to move to the right and to the left. And if you cannot clarify it, everything should be also. He holds, you could clarify it. Now we just have to understand why a goat can't move. Very, very simple. That an animal, living organism, the blood is flowing, the cells are flowing, so that every part of the body has a little bit of the cells of the other part. You can't divide an animal 50-50 and say, okay, from the head to the center of the animal is Reuven, from the center to the tail is Shimon. Because there's blood flowing, and the cells and the genetic material and the oxygen comes from here and goes there, and it's in the heart and it's in the lungs, it's everywhere. There's little pieces, microscopic pieces of Reuven within Shimon and Shimon within Reuven, and there's no clarity. You can't divide that. Because what was divided Erev Yantiv, moved to another part of the body now. Omar Amrile Rav Kahana v'Ravasi l'Rav. So both asked Rav l'Isr Muktzah le'Chasheshu. Now you're telling me one thing is clear, that if let's say there's no tchum at all, these two guys were just living in the house. They could eat the animal. They could check the animal and both eat. Wait a minute. How could I eat your piece? How could I even touch your piece? It's muktzah. I'm a partner with you, and that means that your half is not my half. I don't want you touching mine, and you don't want me touching yours, and I'm maktzah your part from me, and I'm maktzah my part from you. So how could I eat the animal? So muktzah is not an issue. Everybody agrees you could eat the animal. Partners could eat an animal. Taisus points out even more. I mean, people borrow food from each other. That's not a kasha. We're not going to go into that. I mean, it's a kasha. Taisus asked the kasha, but the Rishonim answered that already. But and what the answer is, I'll just say it in one word. Those who care or understand will. A partner, bedafka, doesn't want his other partner to touch his piece, whereas a person doesn't mind giving his food to somebody else. There's a thing like, this is mine, that's yours. We have a partnership for a reason. Okay, but the point is, not to confuse people, the point is that there is no muktzah. Everybody agrees that we could shech the animal and you don't say my piece of steak is muktzah because you were maktzah and you didn't allow me. So muktzah doesn't apply here. But the Isser Tchum does apply here. Ask the Gemara. There is no muktzah, but there is Isser Tchum. My ownership holds you down from moving around. If there's no Isser Muktzah, there shouldn't be any problem of me owning something within the animal and that preventing you from moving the animal left and right. Says the Gemara, Shasik Rav. Now typically Shasik Rav would mean that Rav admits. It's a way of admitting defeat. Over here, there's some Rishonim would say he just didn't like the question. It wasn't a good question. Okay. But typically, that's how Rashi explains it. Shasik Rav, my Havala. Rav Ishaya Omar Yesh Breira. Rav Ishaya says at the end of the day, there is Breira. Meaning, there is retroactive clarification. In fact, he says there's retroactive clarification on everything, even on an animal. So on these two things, this red X becomes a green check. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, Ein Breira. Rabbi Yochanan says, both of them, even the barrel becomes a red X. There's no Breira. You cannot do retroactive. There's no nafkamina between wine and a goat in both directions. Rabbi Shai says, Yesh Breira. Rabbi Yochanan says, Ein Breira. Now the Gemara is going to say, maybe Rabbi Shai said different. The Gemara is going to flip it, go back. Okay. So at this point we're holding, Rabbi Shai says, Yesh Breira. There is retroactive clarification. B'sav Rabbi Shai, Yesh Breira. But nan, hameis, babayis, v'lei p'sachim harbe. We had it even in this Masechta. You have a body, a dead body in a house, so everything in the house becomes tamei, including if there's an open door. And David, I remember saying, oh, I called it this, he called it a lentil. There's an overhang in front of the house. If the door is open, you admit that the tumah leaves the house, goes under the overhang, and right next to Chaim Berlin, we used to live next to Chaim Berlin when I was a kid, so there's a funeral home. I think it's still there. On Coney Island, it's not there, it's gone. Okay, gone. On Coney Island, like facing the higher, the higher numbers, LMNO. Maybe Garlic Funeral, maybe. So there's an overhang, and people that were makbid, they used to walk around the overhang because maybe there's a dead person in there, maybe there's a Jew, or whatever. Tumah to the front. Okay. What? They're all gone. Okay, whatever. Now, don't bother writing emails that it's there, it's not there. It's okay. Nobody cares anymore where these nursing homes are, there's the funeral homes are. We care about Chaim Berlin. Chaim Berlin is still there? Great. It built down the block? Awesome. Rabbi Siegel is still the Menal and the high school? No. Okay, great. Next. Vasnan. He's still there. No. There's a dead person in the house, but there's a side door, there's a front door, there's windows. We don't know, and we're going to see soon, it's halacha l'moshe Sinai, according to Rashi, whatever door the dead man goes out of, where they take his aron out, that's where the tumah goes. If there are 5 doors, only one of them creates tumah. Now, the issue is, what if we don't know which door he goes out of? What if they're all closed? Kulam tameim. All the doorways are tamei. Even though right now the doors are closed, the tumah didn't really leave. Halacha l'moshe Sinai, everything's tamei. What if you open one of them? Who told me if at the end of the day we know where he left, one of them opens, that's where the tumah is. The rest, the other 4 doors are tar. Chishev, in his mind, let's say, for this second, he thought about removing the mace, one of the doors, take him out of a window. It has to be 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim. All the doors are tar because now we know where the dead person is going to leave. You can't decide after the fact. You have to decide this before he dies. Now think about it. The guy's about to die, and he starts making machshavas. Okay, he's going to drop dead soon. We're going to take him out of the window X. Baruch Hashem. Forget about the vidui. Forget about everything else. We're going to think about the. Yeah. Take the knife out because you're saying good. Because at the end of the day, think about it. At the end of the day, everything was all about tumah and tahira. We have no clue. We don't know. We're all tummy. We don't care. In those days, it was all about tumah and tahira. You couldn't eat anything. You had to be careful. And mamish like Nachman is saying, the guy they killed. There's the knife stuck in his son's heart, and he's like, "Get rid of the knife, the tumah. His kid is dying. Hatzalah, 911. No, make sure there's no tumah here." Okay. Anyway, Omar. It's like natural instinct. Now, Rabbi Shaya, who we said, says, Yesh Breiro, you could go backwards, retroactively, clarification. You could clarify retroactively. You could only go from here on out, in the future. So over here you see Mefurish, Rabbi Shaya doesn't hold of retroactive clarification. What if on Monday they took out the mace from door number 1? So you have to understand that on Sunday, the day before, everything else should be tar. Because now, retroactively, I know that's where they took. No, Rabbi Shai doesn't say you go retroactive. Just from here on out. So the Gemara at this point says, April. You have to say, you're right. Rabbi Shai is not the one who said, Yesh Breira. Rabbi Shai is the one that said, Rabbi Shai Omar, Ein Breira. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan Omar Yesh Breira. Just flip the shittas. Rabbi Yochanan, who you thought before says Ein, he says Yesh. Now, that also doesn't work. And the Gemara sticks with this. This doesn't work. In other words, the Gemara, again, Rachamim, the Gemara is just trying different pieces. Does this work? Does that work? Umi Islay, Rabbi Yochanan Breira. No, I'm just going back to the question you had 2 days ago. And I tried to point it out to you yesterday, but then I said your name and you weren't even here. Okay. No. Okay, fine. And I'm not really talking to you. I'm talking to the other guys that are listening. Seriously. No, there's other people that are bothered by this. What's going on here? Well, the Gemara says, he says, Ein. And then you're going to say, Yesh. Hey, Yesh. So we're going through a process here. Maybe the best thing is, maybe in order not to, maybe we'll just flip the names. Someone got confused over the years and they said Yesh, but that also doesn't work. Why? Because brothers who divide a Yerusha. So if you hold Yesh Breira, the moment the father died, then the Ferrari goes to Ruvain and the vacation home goes to Shimon. That only happened 4 years later in court. But when it happens, then retroactively, that's exactly what it was meant to be, and that's exactly what happened. Min hashamayim, poof. But if you say likuchos, so I give you the Ferrari, you give me the vacation home, so we're trading, we're bartering, and that's mekach umemkar. That's business. That's what's the word? That's a transaction. But it's not that that was meant to be. It wasn't meant to be. We decided later on. The fact that Rabbi Yochanan says, and what's an afkamina? Because anytime I buy a piece of land in Eretz Yisrael, it goes back a yovel. Every 50 years, it starts all over again. So all houses and everything go right back to the owner. So if we are brothers dividing Yerusha, so you come, like in 95, I don't know, I'm taking back the house. I don't care. I do care. Kids, you take it, you just redivide everything every 50 years. That's what Rabbi Yochanan says. The guy's half dead, doesn't have teeth garnished, and he's thinking about the Yerusha. Think about it. The father was at least 20 years older than them, 50, whatever. Oh, no, Yovel happens a year later sometimes. Fine. Yeah, the guy in the Ferrari. I'm not joking. I had a guy, it's a sad story. I had a guy, a 94-year-old guy in my shir in Chicago. He went through everything, and it's hard to understand, but he used to drive to Shul. And we didn't understand. Like every time he'd leave Shul, he'd hit 2 or 3 cars. It's like until one day he died in a car accident. He was in his high 90s. It's very sad. They couldn't take the keys from him. Like it was like he insisted and no. Oh yeah.
So it was also like that.
They had a police. No. They lost the keys. My shver's father, the keys got lost. So all of a sudden, and it was very very sad. Yeah. Now you're going to tell me, who was it? Yeah, you told me that story about the guy yesterday. I said something and that guy got insulted, so now all the 95-year-olds are going to write in. Yeah, wie also ihr macht mit einer E-Mail. Schreib du.
They won't remember what you're talking about.
No, so maybe I'll make another nafkimin, another chiluk. There's a difference if you could say retroactive clarification in Doraisa. That we don't do. That's too much. With the Rabbana, when it comes to Tchum, I can move this barrel this way and that way because I could retroactively clarify. You know, you could retroactively clarify when it comes to the Rabbanan. It's only the Rabbanan. They're the ones that made up this. They invented this idea. You can't move more than 2,000 feet this way and that way. So within their inventions, I could be makel and make retroactive clarification, but I can't do it with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and his Torah. Says the Gemara, but that's also not good. Oh, so it goes like this. You heard that there's a great Rav coming to town, and you want to be able to go hear him. And we learned many times they used to give their drushes out in the fields, away from people, whatever, different thing. So you need to go, whatever, you need to travel this way. Oh, but you're not sure. It wasn't clear. The WhatsApp didn't come in those days. Is it coming from over here? Coming from over there. So now you cannot make 2 Eruv Chatzeros. Because Eruv Chatzeros means, Eruv Tchumim means, I live over here. I live where my chal is. I can't live in 2 different places at the same time. So you gotta pick and choose. So Ein Adam Masnal Shnei Dvarim Ke'achad Elam Ba Chacham LeMizrach Eruv LeMizrach LeMayrav Eruv LeMayrav. So you place 2 Eruvim down and you say, Atnai, whichever one, wherever the rabbi is, if he's over here, the rabbi came over here, I'm going over there. My Eruv over here is going to be Chal. I'm making them both Erev Shabbos, of course. But I'm going to decide later which one I want to use, because I can only use one. Now, Rabbi Yehuda argues He said, this is Rabbi Yehuda. He says, you could only decide one. It will be clarified later which one. Once you find out where the Rav came, so you'll decide, okay, the one to this direction is the one I'm using, or I'll decide later this one. When are you deciding this? Shabbos morning, Fatugs, go to the mikvah, you hear from your friends, he's over there, so you go over there. And so that's really retroactive clarification in a way. V'ilu lekan u'lekan, loy. But to put two Eruvim down and say they're both, two Rabbanim are coming. Two Rabbanim. Let's say two Rabbanim came. Both Rosh Hashivas came over here. And you want to decide which one you're going to go to. That you can't do. But why not? You can't pick and choose which Rav you want to go listen to because there's no retroactive clarification. So if there's only one Rav and you decide which direction, why is that any better? Well, Rabbi Yochanan, Omer Aleph is sponsored by David Fine. The Ein Breira. I hear him whispering. Where's the sponsor? The Ein Breira. Mizrach Ma'ariv Nami Ein Breira. But Rabbi Yochanan, Ukfar Bachacham, says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan. He says an answer, right, he didn't know. You remember we learned this, Avigdor? Where are you from again? Remind me? Karnei Shomron. How far away is that? Bit over an hour. Avigdor Fold. Where's Zezi? Your brother used to come a lot. There's no, that's excuses of the Yetzer. Works too hard.
You always say that the second Amud is very, very fast, but that's only...
No! I say Amud Beis. I never said Amud Beis.
But if Amud Beis is Amud Aleph...
There's no such thing as Amud Beis as Amud Aleph. This is Amud Aleph. The guys in Vilna Shas, the people that put it together, the lady, she put all the hard stuff on Amud Aleph. It's a Yedua. It's Dvar Midun. It's not where we start. It's where she put it. Everything. Okay. Anyway, fine. What? Oh, yeah, it took a long time. It did take a long time. Look how much we did. We did a whole Amud here. Fine. Don't worry. We're going to get there. We're going to get to the end of it. It's easy. Everything's easy today. Okay. So, says the Gemara, where are we holding? Oh. Alma, let's lay the Rebbe Yochanan Breyer. So, again, what happened? The rabbi arrived before Shabbos. It's not like he was walking on Shabbos. You just didn't know. So wherever the rabbi arrived, that's the Eruv that was Chal before you knew. It's not that now I'm retroactivating it. I'm not activating it retroactively. It was activated before Shabbos even started. You just didn't know. So there's no Breira over here. It's not a din of Breira. But who says this? Rabbi Yochanan. And so obviously Rabbi Yochanan holds that there is no Breira. Otherwise you'd say, why do you have to come on to Kfar B'Chacham? The Chacham didn't come. And on Shabbos I'm going to decide which one I want to use. That's Breira. So obviously Rabbi Yochanan doesn't hold the Breira. Alma, let's lay the Rabbi Yochanan Breira. So, why are you flipping it? Ella, la'olam, lo'iteibuch. Again, let's go back all the way to the beginning of the sugi. Rabbi Shaya says, Ein Breira. Rabbi Yochanan says, sorry. Rabbi Shaya says, Yesh Breira. And Rabbi Yochanan says, Ein Breira. Says Gemara, V'chiles Rabbi Shaya Breira. La'olam, lo'iteibuch. So, but we had a kasha. What's the kasha? Why is it when it comes to this case, we say Breira? Rabbi Shai says Breira over here. I could take from the barrel and go in different directions. I'm dividing the wine. But when it comes to dead people in the house, I can't decide which window he retroactively came out of. What's the difference? Says Gemara, B'dai Raisa. Dead people is Allah says Rashi, Big Chiddush, that's Rashi, other Rishonim. To say which door, this halacha, that retroactive, that's a deraisa. And in deraisa we don't say Breira. Ava b'derabanan, that's sort that we wanted to say before. Tchum is only b'derabanan. This is a derabanan. So Rabbi Shai says, Yesh Breira. Darash Mar Zutra halacha Rabbi Shai. So Mar Zutra said, halacha Rabbi Shai, that what? When it comes to the Rabbanan, there is Breira. When is the deraisa? There's no Breira. Omar Shmuel. Now what does Shmuel hold? You remember what Shmuel holds? Ein Breira. Omar Shmuel, Sharshel Patam, they do this today, right? You take an ox, you take a bull, a cow, and you just
stuff
with different, you force feed it, you give it corn, and you inject it with all sorts of garbage. That's what they do today. And they had that, it started then. artificial whatever, and all the hormones. Thank you. Shalosh Shapatim. You have professionals. Couch. No, that's a, I think it's the first time in 3 years. That was Plita Sapeh Mechilo Kapara. Oh, yeah. What color am I, Mati? Oh, my gosh. Okay. How do you say it in a nice way? A cow fattener. We're not cutting anything out. Somebody just wrote, we never, oh my gosh. These 950 new guys. I hope they're not on today. Shabbatim. Oh my gosh. And then you're going to have this guy that's going to take just those words and put it on Yeshiva World News on one of those reels. I go like this, and he's going to go, the cow, the cow, the cow, the cow. Nobody washes guy's shear. Nobody washes guy's shear. Oh, yeah. Okay, I got to wait until the color changes. Look at this color. Wow.
This headline's going to say, which rabbi says things like
that? I'll never forget this one. Omar Shmuel. Shor Shel Patam. Hareyu Kiragle Kol Adam. I promise I had zero intent of saying, it wasn't like a, oy vavoy. Shor Shel, right, what? You don't, it's a word that no one will ever forget. Shor Shel Patam. Hareyu Kiragle Kol Adam. Now what's going on? It's a beautiful halacha that, I just love the fact that Kiva up there is laughing and he has no idea why. Shor Shel Patam. So here's a beautiful thing. The Mishnah says, my animal goes as far as I could go, but not the shar of a fattener. Why? Because he has intent to give it to anybody that buys it from him. Remember, you can buy an animal on Yontif. You just don't discuss price. So he releases it. And the Ran says beautifully, the Ran says, and other Rishonim, so the Rashba Ran, that it's like hefker. And Memela, there's no bailus. He releases his ownership, so to speak, and then whoever he sells it to picks that ownership up from there on and goes with the animal. Shar Shel Raya, but on the other hand, if it's an ox of a shepherd, and the shepherd doesn't really sell to outside people, nobody knows about him, he's not famous, so it's only the locals that buy from him, Hareyu Kiragli Oisair, he could only go as far as the people in that city. Wow. Halavai will turn the page. If I buy something from my friend on Erev Yontiv, so it becomes the property, so to speak, of the, come, Gargir, get over here. It becomes the property of the person that borrows it. Pshita, what's the chiddush? Leitzricha, shleimasreloi, ella, biyontiv. The chiddush is that he didn't give it to him until Yontif. The transaction, he said he'll give it to him before Yontif. That's when it should be chal. But he didn't give it to him. What about it? Yishkoyach. I really appreciate it. Chaval, you feeling better? Your father said you're not feeling so good. Yeah, he told your father in the morning you don't want to get up. No, you forgot it's not school. It's Gishma Geshir. Okay, Yishkoyach. Every week I want one of these. Yishkoyach. Thanks for the present. Appreciate it. It's beautiful. Here, look at this again. You got to see this. It's unbelievable. It's a beautiful design. Don't worry, we're catching up today. I didn't give it to him. It is his. If you borrow a vessel from your friend before Yontif, even though it's before it's exactly what we're talking about, the transaction only happened, you only gave it to him on Yontif, it goes by when I decided before Yontif. B'Yontif, but if I give it to him, if he comes to borrow it on Yontif, kiragli mashil, then it's only as good as the guy that lends it. Pshita. He's a person that constantly borrows things from him. We all know these kind of guys. By the way, I was thinking about it. Like on a regular day during Shachris, a kohen would borrow, if you're not married, you don't have a talus, the same kohen borrows from the same person. So things like that happen. So it's automatic. So it should be the borrowers, not the lenders, because he knows he's going to borrow this. Kamash Malon, it's the lenders. Why? Why? But he wants to give it to him. Because he says to himself, maybe he's going to borrow towels from somebody else. Maybe I won't give it to him today. And therefore I'm not going to give it to him. So fine. And a woman who borrows from her friend. She borrows salt. So I saw, some Sefer says very nicely, he says that it uses an interesting lashon of sha'ala. Instead of lavsa, a lashon of alva, and he brings the Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Kuf Mem Ches, that you can't use a lashon of alva because you might come to write. Okay, fine. Kisalik Rebbe Abba, very interesting sugya. Rebbe Abba went to Eretz Yisrael. Omar Yehirava De'ima Milsa the Siskabel. He davened to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he should say something, he should impress the people in Eretz Yisrael. When I come there, I want them to look at me and say, Talmud Chacham came from Bavel. They shouldn't look down at me. He davened. Kisalik, so he goes, he bumps into who? The Gal Adar. L'Reb Yochanan. V'Reb Chanina bar Parpi, V'Reb Zera, V'Amri Lo, Reb Avo, Reb Shimon Paz, Reb Yitzchak Napcha, V'Yasir Ka'arin, they all said and said, Amai, why is it when the woman lends her friend some salt and water, now the bread cannot move 2,000 amas away from the person who gave the salt? Why? It's insignificant compared to the bread. It's a little salt, it's a little water, it should become bottle. So Rabbi tried to impress them. Here, let's see if my tefillah worked. I davened Hashem, I should impress everybody. Here's the Gal Ador, Rabbi Yochanan. Boom. I'm going to say it's like going to Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, say the Dvar Torah in front of Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky. And he says a beautiful thing. You'd think that he'd be right on. What does he say? I have a great way to steal from my friend. I come to my friend's house and I take $1,000 of my own, and I take his $100, I put it in the pile, I mix it up, and I say, it's batal b'roiv, and I walk out the house. You can't say that, right? This is what he said. If it's the same item, they're both wheat, I can't take my friend's wheat and say, my friend's wheat is batal b'roiv. So how is her salt going to be batal? It's hers. It's Leah that gave me the salt. You can do bittul b'roiv when it comes to nevela. When it comes to Yisurim, Divrei Torah, you can be mevatel b'roiv, but not somebody else's money, not monetary ownership. You can't be mevatel monetary ownership with the roiv. Great time to know. Achichu alei. They all started laughing. Imagine the God. What a joke. Mamish, made fun of him. So he says to them, what, did I take your clothing from you? What are you making fun of me? So they started laughing even more. They thought the second joke was even funnier. We just turned to the Chesam Beis, sponsored by the White Hill Group. For all those who need Shidduchim, Refuahs, and Yeshuas, please join us at the ilm.8mindav.com. I'm laughing because the bezoyin of having a bezoyin b'Ravim is such a beautiful thing. It's mamish, it's mechaper. Sponsored by Natan Kashnud for the schos for my children Ari Kolov ben Devaira and Yisrael Yaakov ben Devaira, that they should both do well in Eretz Yisrael and have cheshik v'Torah, mitzvahs and yiras shamayim. Omer Avishaya shaper over the achichu alei. They did a good thing that they laughed at him. Now, the Gemara is going to explain why. I just want to pause it for a second because there's a beautiful Yisayir in this Gemara. Some Sefer explains, why was he punished like that? Why did they laugh at him? Because rather than davening that what comes out of his mouth should be true, he said, I want them to be impressed by me. I care what they think about me. And a person should never care about what others think about him. You hear this? So there's a famous mashal. Right. You have to act in a certain way. You have to make sure that people, you have to care. No, you have to act in a way that they don't say that you're doing the wrong thing. But don't care about what other, don't. Now, listen to this. There's a famous mashal. I just want to finish it off differently than everybody usually says it. The mashal is a guy was walking, he was going from one place to another with his son, and he's on a donkey, and his son was down below. And a guy comes towards him and says, "What's going on here? You're on a donkey, you're going to let your son walk like that? He's a young kid." He says, "Oh, you're right." So he gets off the donkey, he puts his son on the donkey. And then the next guy comes by and he says, "Chutzpah, the father is walking, letting your son do that to you, taking your spot on the donkey." So, "You're right." So he goes on the donkey together. And they're going like that, and then they bump into a guy, and the guy says, "What's wrong with you?" "Tsar Belachayim, 2 people on a donkey, and the donkey's like this." So they scratch their head and they go, "What are the options? I was on the ground, he's on the ground, we're both on the donkey. The only option left is, we're going to lift up the donkey." So they take the donkey, the father takes the donkey, puts him on his shoulders, and starts walking. And of course, the 4th person passes by and says, "It's Meshuggah. I'm Meshuggah." You didn't have to say anything, he just said, "Meshuggah," and kept on walking. But here's the punchline. How many of us are walking around with donkeys on our shoulders? Because at the end of the day, you cannot live life based on what other people think. And look at this. There's a famous book, The Top Regrets of People That Are Dying. There's a woman that worked in a ward with people that are dying, and she did a whole research and she wrote a book. The number one on the list, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life of others expected of me. The number one thing. Not what your father and mother want from you, and not what your friends want, what you think is real, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants of you. And that's the taina over here. Why did Reb Abba care what they thought of him? He should have cared whether his pshat is a good pshat, but he wanted to impress them. What do you care to impress other people? Says the Gemara. How come when he said his beautiful pshat, you can't go into your friend's house and steal some of his money, or he used a mashal of wheat and put it in his wheat? He used the same item, wheat and wheat. Why didn't he say, take that guy's wheat and put it in his barrel of barley? He didn't say that. Because he was careful in his mashal. He didn't want to take 2 separate items. Because that would become batal. If I went to my friend's house and took barley and wheat, his barley, and put it in my wheat, it would become batal. He would admit to that. Even if it's the same item, it should become batal. So Moshe is a lashon over here. Rashi says he was doing it more like a lashon shvua in the covet of Moshe. Some say that he was a nitza. It's based on okay, fine. Nitza of Moshe. That's why I call him Moshe. Shabbat Gamers. This is, by the way, an amazing halacha. Listen to this halacha, because you listening to this halacha would not come up with this halacha. Here's the story. I have a bag of wheat. I'm selling a sack of wheat, and I'm allowed to sell it with the natural stones that come with wheat. I don't have to go and take out the stones. So, but over here, instead of 10 pounds of wheat, I only have 9 pounds of wheat and 1 pound of stones, and that's mutter lahalacha because that's natural. But if my friend comes and removes the stones from my bag, I cannot put it back into the bag. Does my friend have to pay me 1 pound of wheat? Everybody would say, no, it's Geneva. The halacha is he has to pay you a pound of wheat. Since you had the right to sell it with that pound of stones, so he has to pay you back the pound of wheat. So the Gemara is saying the salt that's in the challah is no worse than stones. So it cannot become batal. There's salt in, I have to finish this year. Gold is here, I have to finish. The salt in the challah that's no different than the stones in the bag of wheat. And Memela, we'll finish over here. Boys, have a wonderful Shabbos. I'm actually going to be in Yerushalayim for Shabbos, but I'll be back here, Be'ez Hashem, for 9:30. Have a wonderful Shabbos and Kol Tov.